I don't know, man. Louis about to hit his third par in a row on the green in two.
The
Things are
streak,
looking up.
going for the streak.
Yeah.
Tiger, man.
I
LT3.
mean, I will say the Louis trajectory. He doubled the first one, then bogey, bogey, par, par, about to
Birdie,
hit another
birdie.
par. Seems like
Eagle.
4 straight birdies to me. Close out with 5 straight eagles. That'll work.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a chance to still make 68 straight birdies. So I'm not overly concerned.
Yeah. Yeah. His ceiling isn't capped that much, you know? He still has a chance to shoot a lot under par. Doesn't seem likely though. He's not off to a great start. Did you notice that?
It's been, yeah, I mean, I have a lot of, it's a 70, man. So it's whatever. A lot of good, a lot of starkly bad. Normally at this time, it's like nothing, it's pretty middling. I have some teams that are straight cooking, and then I have a lot of Fleetwood, a lot of Usti, a lot of Leishman. Could
Yeah,
be.
to be fair, I mean, we're 2 hours into a tournament or whatever, so it's not really, obviously not worth worrying about now, especially with a no cut because it's going to change so much. But I was like, oh wow, Ricky's not all that owned. I have all the Ricky. Wait, why am I not doing better? And then it's like, oh well, Tiger and CT Pan are crushing, so that'll do it for me. It's not going to help.
Yeah, I mean, if Peter Uline wins, it still probably won't help me, but it won't hurt me. It'll be good from a straight
odds that I will take that he doesn't win.
So you get the field.
Yeah,
it's toss up.
I mean, the way he's playing right now, dude.
Because he's either going to win or he isn't. You know, it's 51 of 2, man.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Okay. Well, what did you end up doing? What do you got for your craziest sort of overexposures? Did you have an overriding strategy? Did you just kind of personally, I did not spend as much time really breaking that down myself because I'm worried about NFL and blah, 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 blah. But
I mean, we had obviously talked last night on the Late Show that we were both playing reduced volume. So I wasn't, not that I don't think I'm overly cognizant of exposures. I have ranges. It's not like if I make it super on it, but with the amount of lineups I played, I couldn't, you can only get your multiplier. If you play 25 lineups, 4% is as low as you can go. So I have stabs of guys like that. I told you that I opened up my player pool a lot more than I normally do. So I guess, it's cool in the sense that like even someone like Tiger, I had little to no interest in him. I have a couple of Tiger teams. It gives you more outs, and you've talked about with the top heavy nature of the prize pools that it really, of course, it only takes one. It's not great to feel like your only outs are top heavy, large field GPP tournaments. But I guess if your core isn't intact and Louis was in mine, it is kind of nice to have some additional outs if that's where it goes.
Absolutely. And I have been somewhat adamant about this in the past. And I think I'm pretty honest about it's not so much. It takes a lot of arrogance to think that you're just like so much better than all of these people who spend all this time breaking down golfers or anything in DFS. Like to think that you're projecting way better than all of these other people or the computers that they're using or the computers that they're borrowing from someone else that they're using. It's just not, that's not beatable at a 15% rate. So like just so many people, I find it really frustrating a lot of the times when people say, if you're not over on someone, you shouldn't even bother playing them. Like that's just not very smart. And if you look at all the top players, it's not really what any of them do. They're leaving themselves some outs. You go under on guys, this gets brought up a lot, but when I won the club tour earlier this year, a couple of the dudes in that lineup were not guys I was very heavy on, but just happened to have a nice out because I didn't hit everything. You're not often going to hit everything. And winning one of those tournaments is so much more important than a bunch of high finishes. So it's nice if you smash your core for sure. If you're very like who's the guy that won at the Millie Maker at the U.S. Open last year who played like 90% Trey Mullinax? Like, cool.
Yeah, him and Xander. No, I mean, I agree with that because you're correct. I don't think you can really argue that. I will say that I am more on the other side. I tend to completely fade people. I think there's ways to do that you can you. It's funny because the end goal, and we've talked about this 100 times on this show already. We end up in the same places a lot with different avenues, and I agree that that's what you're looking at, top heavy nature. My thing is, a lot of times the having a couple 2v2 permutations is so valuable if you're up there. Just having one bullet, even in a nice week, it's really hard. Of course, you want to throw as many. So I tend to build in these little clusters and hope that one cluster can get through and I have 3 outs on a Sunday. I don't build 150, so I feel like to negate some of that, I have to be a little more aggressive. And those little 4, 8, 6% reductions, they allow me to do what I really want to do. But in a perfect world, yes, I'm 100% with you.
Yeah, and it's worth mentioning that we're talking about different tournament structures too. Like, you don't do the 150 lineups in the $5 thing, which I usually will do. If you're just playing, like obviously in the 3 maxes, you have a core, and you bet that's where if you hit your core, that's when you do well in the 3 maxes, because you can't like spray all over the place in that. But in something like the $150, the 150 max entry $5 or $6, I think it was this week, I played 6% Tiger or something like that. Like, I have some outs there way under the field. I hope he withdraws like next hole, but
right now
doesn't. Yeah, exactly. That would be awesome. Great. Okay. Well, we're not very far into the golf tournament, so not worth talking about it too much more. Do want to talk a little bit about, or to promo a little bit, a show that we have coming up. It's on Thursday nights in general. We will be doing you, me, and Lofty talking about the football slate. It's going to be very similar to Two Fellas, which was with Manny last year. And Manny is doing his own thing now, which wish him the best for that. But we are going to step in there. We're going to have some fellas talking football on Thursday nights. Should be a good time. You are holding out. You're not reporting to the team.
True. It's a Lev Bell situation. I just trying to capitalize, so I won't be there tonight. We'll see if, like the offensive line, if you guys throw some shade my way. But I am excited if I do, if we work it out and I'm there next week. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to, from A to B, which is this show, obviously, on Thursdays, instead of that, we're going to have the show later in the day with us 3. I think it's going to be great. We're going to talk some showdown. Everyone's going to be playing, so you can tune into us, basically leading you right up to lock. It'll be a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to it, pending I don't have to sit 11 games.
Yep.
If you franchise tag me.
You just don't want to have, you don't want to have 400 touches this season.
I mean, I think it's reasonable. Touts have very short shelf lives, man. You can only capitalize. Yeah, you got to capitalize when you're hot. So we'll see what's what.
Yeah, I like it. Get that guaranteed money, that long-term deal. Okay, great. Well, that'll be tonight, and in general, Thursday nights, 7:15, right after the baseball, and then down the line, basketball, right after those after those shows finish, we will pop on and we will talk about football. It's not as much like, for those that weren't familiar or aren't familiar with Two Fellas, it's a little more of a, I don't know if casual is the right word, but it's not a game-by-game breakdown. It's more of we talk about some themes, and we certainly talk about DFS and what players we like, but it's more around some sort of specific questions than it is going game by game or position by position.
And I think that's more valuable, especially on a Thursday, because stuff is going to change. We're going to have plenty of NFL Sunday morning. There's going to be a slew of things. I plan to be doing a show with Lofty once again. I guess I may be holding out this week. You may be on deck, because I will be in Hoboken doing some at DraftKings anyway. But I think a game by game on Thursday, just too much changes. And I that show is really unique. It's going to be fun. Going to get some info. Talk about Thursday, and I loved. I mean, I know you did some of the shows with the two fellas last year. One of the
Yep.
shows I always made sure to tune into. I absolutely loved that. Now I'm part of it, so that'll be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be a good one. So, with that said, we are not really going to talk about the NFL today. We'll save that for tonight. Since you're not there, do you have anything? Are you excited about for tonight specifically? If you know,
Nah, I mean, not really. Cool game. I expect the Eagles to handle it. Excited
we'll
to see Foles. You are much better at the showdown stuff than me in general. I think you guys talk about it. I'm going to be throwing some in. To be honest, I haven't looked a ton. I just plan to have some fun with it. I don't think attacking that too crazy. It's more about lineup construction, spraying, and I don't even want to say the word leverage because it's a one game showdown slate. We'll see what they do. See if I can find some gems in there. I really haven't looked too much, but cool game. I mean, I like how the NFL does that. They seem to always take not that this was the one of the sides big NFC matchup or big AFC matchup with the champs and whatnot. So that'll be fun.
Yeah, no, I think
he'll be excited. He's a Eagles dude.
Yep, should be a good game. Yeah, I don't know. The Eagles are funny because they have like the best offensive and defensive line in football, but they're kind of weak at
skill positions.
Yeah, but they were really good last year. I think they'll be really good again this year. So gonna be fun to talk about. Yeah, Laffy, by the way, huge Eagles fan. I'm a huge Patriots fan. I mean, huge fan is a little strong when we talk about being DFS players because who cares? I just absolutely will take my lineups over my team almost every time.
Yeah. I mean, I would disband the Jets for like an extra 5 points to the cash line. Like I could literally care less.
Absolutely. I would. Yeah. I mean, Tom Brady could blow out his knee. Oh, CT Pan doubled. Maybe that's what. Maybe Tom Brady is going to blow out his knee now.
CT Pan victory laps. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to go back to the golf, but
nope.
It's just I don't know. It's been interesting with these chalk guys. Obviously, this one's far from complete, but what an interesting year with some weird chalk getting there at an abnormal rate. It's going to regress. It's just been strange.
It has. I agree with you. Okay, well, moving on. You want to talk some college football? You got some games coming up this week. What's happening? When does it start? Starts tomorrow?
I guess you could say that there is one game tomorrow. So if you want to play a showdown, you got TCU and SMU. SMU is horrendously bad. Just by
Texas Christian and Southern Methodist.
That's right. Texas schools. They got a red Mustang on their helmet. Cool looking uniforms. Anyway, SMU is a dumpster fire. They got murdered by North Texas, who isn't overly good. TCU played Southern, not a real school. And, their starters were out. We didn't really get a full look at them. They're multiple touchdowns. I haven't looked at the lines, but I would venture to say it's, I don't know, maybe 20-ish, 25, 24, some maybe 3 touchdowns-esque. So, on a showdown slate, we'll see. The big thing I want to say overarching, and then we can dive into some of these games, is people to simplify, and I'm sure I'll be guilty of it. DraftKings will put up what everybody did for the last week, so you can just look. You want to be careful because a lot of guys got volume that you'll never see if it's a competitive game. So many teams were out of hand that these numbers are wildly inefficient still. So you can look, I'm sure there's going to be a bunch of people who are going to sort by, fantasy points per game and say, oh, well, these guys are the dudes who are seeing the field. Yeah, in certain things, we want to make sure the game script lines up, especially for teams that, they won by 50 points and 10 running backs got carries. It's going to be tighter rotations as we get on. There's still a lot of really bad games this week. And we're going to see some of that, but we're going to see less of it, and then even less going forward, of course. So, yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I haven't built, of course. I have looked. First thing that caught my eyes, Khalil Tate is on the slate, which is very exciting. Quarterback for Arizona, your boy, super athletic, Michael Vick-esque. Really, Lamar Jackson can move, can throw a little. They're coming off a bad loss at home. I believe they were home to BYU.
Yeah, counterpoint. He's averaging 1.8 yards per carry, dude.
What a bust. I know. It was I was so over college football by the time that game started. I did not see a second of it. I was really surprised to see that, though. He gets Houston. It's just a cool matchup because Houston, this is anecdotal. You don't need to know it for DFS per se. They have, clearly the favorite for the number one pick at Oliver. Just a monster Aaron Donald-esque guy. So that's going to be a cool matchup. I plan to target Tate just because he has just upside that people don't have. It's such an atypical thing when you have a quarterback who can rush for hundreds of yards as a ceiling. It's just ridiculous. Let's see what else is on this slate. There's some decent games. I mean, we do have a couple just non D1 schools still. Portland State is on there. South Carolina and Georgia. This is something you had talked about. I think this is a good example of it. Probably the best game on the slate, if just as a viewer, and one of, not the best to target for sure. It's two good SEC schools. Not that their defenses are overly imposing, but it's going to be a grinded out. It's going to resemble more of an NFL game. And you want to identify that and probably swerve to a game where the teams can't really stop each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense to me. Any players in that you're particularly on?
In Georgia, South Carolina?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it is two really good teams. I expect it to be – we'll see as we get closer to Saturday. I'm on South Carolina pretty heavily. With my track record so far, you might want to run to the ticket window with Georgia. But
every quarterback's like sub 7K. Is that because they're splitting time, or do you know how those teams play particularly?
Who? Fromm and Fields?
Fromm and Fields, and then Bentley and Scarnecchia.
Yeah, so Scarnecchia will not – I would assume that Fields will not see the field either, but Bentley is the South Carolina quarterback, good player. And that's right there, a perfect example. South Carolina was up by a ridiculous amount. I think they played Coastal Carolina. They're going to run one quarterback in a traditional game. Georgia has an interesting situation in general. Fromm is their returner. Fields is, besides Trevor Lawrence, probably the number one recruit. So I guess they have a pseudo battle, but Fromm has the stranglehold, I would say, right now. I have more interest in Bentley than I do Fromm. I have more interest in South Carolina as a whole. Rico Dowdle, that is their running back. Sub 5K, pretty interesting.
Yeah, all these guys are super cheap.
Yeah, I mean, again, though, they're playing a Georgia defense where that's one of the worst matchups. Not that they're overly elite. It's not Alabama or anything, but there are other teams who are playing bad schools. So you can mix and match. It's certainly not a game where I'm stacking it up. And because, the over-under is going to be a reasonable total. And then there's other games where 75, 80 points could be scored.
Oh, okay. I misheard you. I'm sorry. I was looking at something else. When you said, I know what you said now, that this is the best game, but the worst DFS game.
Yeah, gotcha. I was wondering. I was like, oh, I like where you're going with this, but you asked me for plays in a game where I was like,
yeah. Well, I was like, wait, you like this game and everyone's really cheap? Is this like the crazy? Okay, never mind.
No, yeah, they're cheap for a reason. I still think you can get some. There's plenty of talent on the field. It's just you want to be cognizant of what you're doing, in the sense that there are other games where you can load up, a quarterback on each side, a receiver, and a run, and really stack it up. Hope that you get a shootout with some of these games. But it's a cool, definitely a better slate in general. We got another, again, I don't want to say they're a fun team, but just an interesting team. Georgia Tech is on the slate. They run the triple option like the military schools, so they don't really throw. It's always weird to see that and just attack it because you look at their quarterback, Let's bring him up. He didn't have to do much last week, and he threw a lot more. Honestly, more than I thought he would. A lot more than I thought he would. But he's going to do his damage on the ground, so it'll be interesting to see how that really goes. They use a slew of running backs. They got fullbacks. They got all sorts of things. It's tough to peg their production, but when a team like that if they get control, it's so hard to stop. Like it's one of those things. It's almost an all or nothing. Like if they gas you, they're just going to keep running, and they gas you. So certainly going to be taking a close look at them. Yeah, I mean, it's fun. It'll be a little warm up for NFL. It's certainly different just because you have crazy scoring and mobile quarterbacks, and there's a super flex, so you can take 2 quarterbacks. That kind of threw me off. A lot of people have asked, what's the best way to do that? I think generally you're going to want to put a quarterback there, but it's not a must. Don't force one in if you don't. I kind of made that mistake a little, thinking, well, you have to do it. You don't. As the roles become clearer and there's more options, you can certainly structure teams where you have an extra running back or something, especially on a shorter slate or something like that.
Okay. That makes sense. Makes sense.
I mean,
I did get a question from the chat. Can you guys talk about Eagles Falcons single game slate tonight? Thanks for the question. We are, just to reiterate, we're going to have, in place of this show moving forward, we're going to have the Thursday night show, us and Laffy. I'm going to do that with Laffy tonight at 7:15, and we will absolutely spend a fair amount of time talking about the single game slate tonight. So,
yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be cool. The single, I'm not going to delve into it, but they have kickers, which adds a wild wrinkle in addition to the whatever that thing is, the 1.5.
They're super cheap too. I don't know. Yeah, I got some thoughts there. We'll get it.
No, and that is, like I said, I can throw support behind that. While I hold out, I'll be tuning in. It's gonna be good. You're gonna lead everyone to split $1 million. Not bad.
Yeah, let's not set it up like that. It's gonna turn into you the first week of college, where it's like, here we go.
Yeah, it was bad. College. I know. I almost wish they never brought that back. It pretty bad. All right. Well, do you have the golf up? What's happening? I don't have it up.
Oh, not much. Dustin Johnson stinks. He's trash.
I finally played a little.
Trash. Bubba sucks. That was actually the first comment in the chat. Just Bubba sucks.
Smart person. I appreciate our listeners having the pulse of the show. Imagine us next week. We have to talk about the 30 man. Oh, I do have a little. I mean, not that this is really important, but it's worth talking about, golf related. Europeans made their selections, and we did mention it last night, but got Stenson on the team. Sergio, which
S
Sergio, Mr. Garcia.
Okay.
I see it, I get it, but I feel bad for RCB. I mean, it's no question that he's playing better, and that's a tough one. He was the odd man out there.
2 over today. I don't know. RCB seems like he stinks.
Yeah, or he's given up on life now that he got shafted. I mean, what really happened was Olesen, your boy, the Thunder Bear, he screwed everything up because he got in automatically. And that kind of shifted the narrative there. It'll be certainly interesting. I mean, I think now that Tiger's just like the U.S. team is cooking at the right time. So Ricky's back, Tiger's cooking, Bryson's obviously on fire.
Did get a comment that Phil is killing me with these double bogeys. Au contraire, actually, one of them's a triple bogey, A, and B, he's not killing you. This is Phil. This is what Phil does. He's got 2 birdies and an eagle, and a double and a triple and a single bogey. This is you want that Christmas tree scorecard in this situation.
Wait, is he 4 over?
He's 2 over.
Oh, I added that wrong in my mind. Yeah, I mean, I will say this. You want your guys, of course, up there, but if they're not up there, and you brought this to the forefront, and it's an obvious thing, but it should be said. The difference, between 50th, 60th, 30th, you're talking a couple of extra points over 4 days. So you would much rather have a guy today shoot 4 over with 2 monster blow up holes and rack up some birdies than a guy shoot even with 1 birdie and 1 bogey. That's just not going to get it done.
Yeah.
Um,
That is the nut low round.
that's the worst.
Yep.
That's like, as bad as it is, you want to more be in tune to counting the number of birdies your guys make here, not what their score to par is. Obviously, you're going to need guys up top doing the heavy lifting, but your back end, if they can get streaks, you want to be cognizant of, you hope that they can get in 1 under to keep the stupid bonus alive. Because to really smash, this course is playing, of course, not a surprise that every course on the PGA Tour is now the easiest course in the world.
Well, unless you're Adam Scott.
Yeah, he was 4 over through 2 holes, and he never recovered. It seems like
pair of birdies. No, he's on his way back. He just tied Louis.
Is Louis in last now?
DFL. They're both 4 over. Adam Scott's new putting coach appears to have worn off, right? Or his cheater putter, or whatever it is. He's losing strokes putting because
everything he does
variant
is a wormhole. All right, I have a couple more college football thoughts, and then we can talk about a couple other things, and we'll bounce on out, and it'll be a little show. How's that sound for you?
Works for me, man. Lay it on me. What do you got?
All right. So I'm just looking through the slate right now. This is, of course, the main slate. It's going to be interesting. I felt like last week it was there was the majority of the slate were facing blowouts. Now we have like an interesting mix. We have a handful of looks like massive blowouts, and then a handful of somewhat competitive games. And then we have, I'd say, a handful of just some bad teams kind of playing. So I think it lends itself to more mixing, and you have more options, I guess I should say, even from the blowout games. I don't know. For me last week, I felt a little, not even overwhelmed, it's not the right word. It was just, there were so many blowouts. It was like you had to pick within them. Here, there's a couple. I mean, you have Oregon and Portland State. That's going to get out of hand wildly. It's a ridiculous game. I venture to say that Oregon's team total is probably around 70.
Oregon and Portland State?
Yeah, it's bad.
Nice.
Portland State is bad.
You know what their mascot is?
What?
You know what their mascot is?
The Vikings. Yeah, they're the Vikings, and they're not good. I think yeah. Anyway, so that's a team, there's going to be production up and down the board. I'm really high on Oregon as a team this year, but it's tough to pay basically $10K for Herbert or Tony Brooks-James. They got so many running backs. And, I mean, they had the last laugh, not tangent, but Willie Taggart. Nice showing on Monday, buddy, with his awful offense at Florida State. The other game, and I guess it doesn't really matter who they play at this point, is Alabama's on the slate. And they just murder everyone. They have an easy opponent, too. They're playing Arkansas State. So not breaking anything here. You throw Arkansas State completely off the slate. That's step one. And then you look to Bama. They have they're
projected to score like 2 touchdowns.
Who?
Arkansas State. It's 36.5 point spread, 66 over on. Yeah,
That's more than I would have honestly thought, but it's going to be so out of hand, I'm sure. It may come later in the game. And Bama's defense isn't overly Bama. It's just typical Bama, which is like you can't run. Maybe you'll score random. I mean, Bama's defense scores what they give up a lot, like in most games. Like I saw something absurd last year. Bama's defense, if that was the only points, would have been like 4 and 7 or something. Just ridiculous. So we'll see. I mean, they have an interesting situation because it's not a controversy. Tua is the guy, but they have two quarterbacks. The quarterback they had been using for the past 2 years, Jalen Hurts, he's been benched. But when he comes in, it's kind of like an audition in a way. They're certainly both going to get time. They clearly cannibalize each other, and the prices haven't dropped enough where I think you can get sneaky with him just yet. He's going to see some time, and Tua, of course, is going to get his, but it's just they're both a little too much. If it dropped into the 5, say for Hurts, I think you could look there. He's mobile. He certainly can play. There's no doubt about that. So if I do go there, it'll probably play maybe trying to hit one of these running backs. They have so many good ones, 3 in particular. They always get carries. We saw that in the blowout, and Louisville's a pretty good team. That's just the way it's going to be. So again, it's going to be price specific. If I think I can get one of them who's going to take 10 carries in a game, I don't mind using that as a flyer. There's probably going to be some value elsewhere and whatnot. And then this is how I kind of am going to go through the slate. I'll take those games first, see if there's a couple of plays that in a vacuum make sense, put them to the side, eliminate the games, and move on to kind of the next bucket, which is just good natural matchups. And then the third bucket, which is just like weird, bad teams playing, or, there are a couple more. I guess I should have said this at the beginning. I should have prefaced it. There's levels of blowouts, like Oregon and Portland State's the extreme. That's.
Can I save you from something here?
Sure.
Oregon. It's not Oregon. It's Oregon.
I know. I always do that. This is a Brooks Koepka situation.
Yep. One I've noticed from you lately is anecdotal. It's anecdotal.
I'm just not going to say that anymore because I don't want to learn that one.
It's cool. I'm just saying we're on a day show where we don't have as many viewers, we'll figure out the Oregon thing so that you don't get trolled by West Coast people later,
Well, here's what we're going to do. The Ducks.
There you go.
Certainly going to be putting up some points, and that's going to be an extreme blowout. You have other teams, Wisconsin, Michigan, they both have pretty soft opponents. That's not the same thing. The starters aren't going to be out, and it's not going to be 35-0 in the first quarter like you might see. So I'm going to try to weigh that and see. Okay, I'll look back as a barometers of Michigan played Notre Dame last week, so you can't really do that there. But what happened? When did these guys get out? Do we see a similar workload? Try to mix and match. I do think it's really important to look back last week, not at what happened per se, but just the rotations, almost like basketball in a way. It's just like, if this score is going to mirror what happened, when did this guy go out? How long did they keep their quarterback in? When did they move to these running backs? Did he get his carries in the first half, meaning that it's probably steady production that we're going to see? Or did he have one carry at the end of the game and he broke it for 60 yards? That's important, obviously. And there are a couple guys on this slate who you look at their fantasy points per game, they had a couple carries late in the fourth, broke a big run, and it really inflates it.
Kareem Hunt style?
Yeah, Kareem Hunt style. It's so I don't know. I'm going to wrangle you in. I know it's only been 1 week. Are you starting to get into this? You still need a little. I know you're burnt out because you're doing like 1,000 things here with projections and many other things.
Yeah, I've been furiously prepping for the NFL for the most part, so I've still not really dove into college, but
we'll get you there.
Yeah,
these are the best weeks to skip, to be honest. So we'll see. And when I do like the shorter slates. As the season gets on, there'll be like Maction, which is the MAC comp. They have games during the week. It's cool to attack those little ones. Right now there hasn't been much because it's early in the year. But what's going on in the golf? Are you monitoring over there?
Yeah, I'm monitoring. You know what's going on is it's this course. Yeah, you can put up some numbers on it. It looks like there's a lot of birdie holes, a lot of double holes. Like people are going like streak double left and right, which means we are not going to know anything for a long time. Like it's going to be very easy for this leaderboard to move fast. So I'm like, don't even bother paying attention until like Saturday night.
That's the thing. Yeah. I mean, I obviously I have a routine that like for my Thursdays for a long time now of what I do. And this morning felt really different just because you want, like, I wanted to get into the golf. You just can't. I spent time, I was doing some college football, and then I went down a wormhole on Wikipedia reading about snakes, your favorite.
Ugh, why?
It's a good question. How that started is, I don't even remember the origin, but I hate snakes too. Just insane creatures. Like, it was reading about venomous ones, and then I got on poison dart for a lot of animal-esque situations.
This is the life you live, though, man. You love just going down, just finding random trivia stuff. What was the cities thing? You had to name 1,000 cities in an hour, or the 1,000 largest cities in the country.
I tried to. I lost that bet.
But you did. You got pretty damn close, right? Didn't you go like 995?
Yeah, I only missed a couple.
That's
Shakopee.
Shakopee?
Yeah. I
Where's
think it's
that?
in Minnesota, I think. Yeah, I missed that. And I missed Bradenton in Florida, which
Okay.
that was just a dumb bet. I mean, that's just what happens. Like, I was having a conversation with someone. I said if I had a couple months that I could memorize that. They thought I couldn't. My direct move on things like that is to bet not a large sum of money on it, but not a small sum either. Turns out they were right. Shouldn't have done that. It was a lot of time, and I didn't win. Stupid.
Yeah, it's all right.
I have the time, yeah.
Yeah. Bradenton, like I've heard it. Is that a spring training city or something? Because I know I've heard that name before.
I don't know. I just type them, man. What do I know? Yeah, it could be. Speaking of, and I don't ever, this is going to be a rarity, anyone watching the show. I never want to bring baseball up, but Ohtani, we're not going to see him for like a decade now. What happened? I heard you might have Tommy Johns.
Yeah, his elbow was messed up anyway, and then
He had like 8 home runs last night, though.
Yeah, and then he kept hitting all season, and then they tried to pitch him again earlier this week. You know, not to be selfish about this, but man, he is such a pain in the ass for projections because you cannot, like, the way that it works, it's a matchup based thing. So a player has to be a hitter or a pitcher. So like literally for him to, when he starts pitching again, like when he was pitching on Sunday, I had to like go into my stats database where everything is drawn from originally and like change him back to a pitcher for the day and then go back to change. I hope he does well. He's an exciting player, but it's a huge pain in the ass for me to deal
I
with.
remember when he was just getting started, you echoed those sentiments about him just being really annoying.
Yeah. And I also do not think it's possible for a player to be amazing at 2 jobs like that. Those are both, like, pitching and hitting are both full-time jobs. Like Madison Bumgarner, good hitter. You know why he's just fine? Like he's like a famously awesome hitter for a pitcher. He could maybe be a really good hitter, but you know why he's not? Because he doesn't have the time, because he's spending all his time studying other hitters' tendencies, not other pitchers' tendencies. Like you can't do both of those. If you're being a pitcher all the time and then trying to hit on the side, even if you get off to a good start like Ohtani has done, the guy's got a ton of power. People are going to find out the holes in his swing, and he's not going to have time to be able to adjust back because he's worrying about other hitters. I don't know. You just can't do both. It's just not. It's unrealistic to me. So I think if he just picks one, he could be really good at it. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't know. I find it from the outside looking in. I think it's awesome that he's trying to do both. I hope he tries to do that.
Yeah, he's got crazy power and he throws 98. Like that's
really cool.
Yeah, that is really neat for sure.
It's
just the Bo Jackson's never happening again because the world is just too, we're too specialized. There is way more advances than there were. The games are much more, and the strategies in the games are much more sophisticated than they were 20 years ago. So it's just, I just don't think it's feasible for someone to be that good at both of them. You can't do it just off of athleticism anymore. You have to study a lot.
Yeah, there's no doubt. We had that discussion in Slack the other day about I don't even know I think it was with golfers, but yeah, everything is trending, and DFS is the perfect example about just, you could get away with some stupid things 3, 4, 5 years ago, and now everybody is cognizant of ownership and just all these things that was an edge back in the day, and it's the same with the guys playing the sports. Yep. Which is why you got to think outside the box, which is why some of my extreme ideas should be implemented in the sports world, but that's another story for another time.
It is. And a story we will get to at some point, because we're going to be doing a lot of these shows. And I think that will just about do it for today's show, unless do you have anything else in the college world?
We're going to talk tomorrow. If you want, if I can wrangle you to just maybe give a couple minutes on each, I'd love to go through the slate tomorrow. Go game by game real quick. We'll touch on some plays if people want that for a good old Friday. And then last things I'll say is I'm honestly going to plug your show tonight. Is just check out the showdown tonight. You guys are going to be talking, you and Lofty. I'll be there next week, and it's going to be a lot of fun. NFL is back in action. We've got a million. I laugh every time I say it. $1 million to first in a 2.5 million prize pool tonight. So I'm sure everyone is going to be playing. Two fellas talking tonight. Good luck. Don't worry about the golf just yet.
Tiger's -8 though.
Who?
Tiger.
How many holes does he have left? 59 watch?
No, not 59 watch. But he's gonna bogey for a round too. It's a really nice round he's having.
Yeah, he has an eagle in there too.
No streak though. That's helpful for me. Tiger's having a really good round. Your boy Rory up to T2. Rory and Ricky.
God, I must be crushing with
Ryan Armour.
I wish I'm going to look at my old winnings right now. It's not that good.
No, it's not.
No. Well, I figured I'd be winning the club twirl, to be honest. I have a super team with them. I'm in third.
Okay.
So, that's basically a lock for top 10 cash. It will be.
Yeah.
We're good.
You should sell that lineup on Stake Kings or something, see if you can get some action for it.
Yeah. If anyone wants to buy it for, it's up. What's third place? It is 20 grand. I'll cut you in for half of that. No problem. You get a bargain. It is a cool team. Tiger, Rory, Ricky, Benyon, Grillo, and Hadwin. Not bad.
Okay. Yeah, you're going to need some moves from Hadwin.
Yeah.
Or you're just screwed. But, I'll take the, what do you think the line is on where that finishes? Like 7.5?
Yeah, 7, 8-ish.
Real talk.
I don't remember this exact team. It's probably like, what do you think being serious now, what do you think the line for cashing is? You think it's a dog?
No, probably not. I mean, you'd rather start off well than not.
Of course. It's very loosely correlated. Like the chances it finishes in the top 100, I'd say is 20%.
Yeah, I don't think it's great.
It's not like it's even, and it gets drastically worse like as you go. So yeah, I mean, we both, as many people who watch the show and has experienced themselves. I mean, I've had many teams in my life be in the top 10 of a club twirl on Sunday and finish in like 800th easily. That happens all the time. So with this, forget it. With all the 6 of 6s, no cut, it's going to be, you're not going to know anything till Sunday afternoon.
I had that lineup. This was it might have, I'm trying to remember where it was. I feel like maybe it was a WGC event or something, but I was winning the 444 till late Saturday one week, looking like I was going to go wire to wire. It was the Thomas Peters disaster where he started off super hot last summer. Anyway, I didn't even cash this lineup. It was just like the most absurd Sunday ever, and I was winning with 6 holes to go on Saturday night.
That's a general rule, and then I'll be done. Is it can go worse than you think and better. Like there are so many times where I look and I'm like, well, at least I know the floor here is 6. Like in a small. It just with the placement points, it's the only sport you can really obviously you can go so far backwards. As evidenced by Keegan getting me -17 or something the other week.
Oh yeah, it's brutal.
Like,
it is brutal. One last, we had what's on the agenda. College football. Your picks last week really helped. Thank you for saying that. I worked really hard on them. We will spend a fair amount of time talking college football on tomorrow's show.
For sure.
That will just about do it for today's. Burt Reynolds died. Rest in peace.
How old was he? He must have been pretty old.
82, yeah.
Oh, wow. I would have thought like Kirk Douglas-esque.
No, he was, trying to think. Yeah, he was in his, late. He always sort of looked older than he was. He just had that very, super hairy, big mustache thing, even when he was 32. But, yeah, elite performance in Boogie Nights.
That's what
Quality career. Poor guy.
But, I was just going to say, college football tomorrow, obviously, Slack as well will be floating around and whatnot. Come on in.
Noted University of New Jersey alum Dan Strafford believes that his University of New Jersey Rutgers people will beat OSU outright.
Sure. Yeah, that's likely. But if they don't, they might lose by 40 or so. So we'll see.
Yep. We will see what happens. All right. Thanks for listening. Tune in tonight. Thanks, Josh, for producing. Thank you all for checking this out, and we'll see you shortly.